Before you say that, hear me out. He is a weak nobody who sacrifices himself to save someone else, letting the truck-kun take his life. Then some god reincarnates him into a new world, which is the same but fundamentally different because it has Matrix now, with some broken ability and an infinite potential for attracting hot waifus. Okay, it is a bit of a stretch, yet I do believe that solo leveling is an isekai with extra steps. Hello comrade, my name is Bahis. Come, get yourself a beverage and sit down with me. We got some grinding to do. A brief heads up, this is not a comprehensive review as the season is technically not fully out, so expect little structure and more of a free-flowing sequence of my thoughts on various aspects of the show. Generally speaking, I liked solo leveling, and the reason I enjoyed it way more than I probably should is very simple. It doesn't pretend to be something that it's not. Very often we see stories trying to expand the lore/plot by adding interesting at first sight elements or otherwise spicing up the narrative, only to look shallow and flat once you apply any amount of thought to it. Take the assault of the royal capital. For a place where magic is everything and each person wielding it in some capacity, not seeing a single civilian using it to fight, flee or do anything really is a bit strange. It detaches me from the story, and I'm happy to say I didn't see much of that in this show. There's some, and we'll get there step by step, starting with my most cherished aspect of any anime, the world building. So far, it's been very good, and it reminds me a lot of another isekai-ish called Gate, which is an inversion of what's happening here, where our forces go to another world, teach them democracy, acquire some waifus... Anyway, solo leveling. The dungeons and things associated with them were integrated into the routine in a very believable fashion. You immediately get the government, businesses and individuals trying to pull as much rug as they can, while the general populace is just getting used to the new norm. There are several points of interest, and the first one is the orientation freshly baked hunters have to attend. They now have an ability to fight monsters from the dungeon. But not all of them will be doing that. There are many options to pursue, and unfortunately, we haven't seen half of them yet. You can continue as a regular person, become a hunter, a criminal, a hunter, that's where the name comes from, or find a way to implement your new skills in a more traditional career. Like Juhi, who went back home to do whatever business her family has, could have been an invaluable member of an ambulance crew, ER, or any other first responder, as the appearance of dungeons doesn't mean there are no longer any random injuries, crimes, and so on. Next we have the hunter's strength, which was said to be fixed with no way of increasing it. That's a bit of a disingenuous statement, if not a flat-out lie. First of all, there is a second awakening. Rare for sure, yet it's already not impossible to become stronger. Then you have gear, which apparently has so much impact that the officials bought the story of an inexperienced D rank killing a C rank boss. That's going up an entire bracket in terms of power just because you have some spare money. Totally tracks with how the world actually works, yet not with your strength is static. Oh, and how about buffs? Not permanent, but they seem to be strong enough to again convince the officials that a C rank could have killed a B rank. I know there is more to this, however, I see no evidence of this fundamental piece of lore we were told 4 minutes into the story to be true. What I do see though, is people being people. Let's film a Joe Mama-sized angry piece of stone that is wrecking the entire place literally a few meters away. It's 100% what bystanders would do, which brings back memories of Gojo floating around the station and not a single person pointing a phone at him. It's such a small detail, but it adds so much to the immersion, which is why I'm surprised to see no body cams being used in the dungeons, as that would have been the most interesting content by far. It's clearly visible that everyone has accepted this fantasy phenomenon as a normal part of life, with the guys on the road talking about it like it's nothing more than a traffic jam, or the news having an entire section with the dungeon's roadmap. They even did the classic, "Oh, remember this big problem we had a while back? Let's not talk about it anymore so that people will forget that it ever happened." Well, that's normal stuff for the media, so who cares about it when we're shown a government agency who is at least trying to do their job? Yeah, one of them turned out to be a psychopath, the other doing a bare minimum, but you can't deny the fact that they caught on to Jinwoo's circumstances rather quickly. They thoroughly checked the double dungeon situation and its survivors, immediately noticed him getting through another disastrous raid, and seemingly set up a dungeon reunion to observe his performance. The last part might be my crazy pills, though it would make sense if they suspected that something is up. What doesn't make sense is the behavior of Purple Fushiguro. Even if we drop my stage rage subplot, his actions lack any and all common sense, unless of course he no longer wants to be an inconspicuous murderer hiding in plain sight. He starts with, "I'm going to say that an army of goblins appeared and killed the prisoners," which is a certified bullshit excuse, as it will be followed up with a question. How did you, a B rank, allow 3 inmates who you were specifically told to watch to die in a D rank dungeon? That's negligence at best, since you either let them slip from your sight or were too weak for your rank. It's already going to compromise your killing endeavors due to the attention you'll attract. Yet you put on an Akamiga kill face and suggest a new plan. The prisoners were plotting the escape from the start, they killed the rest and ambushed me while I was fighting the boss. That's it, your career's over, because not only did you fail your duty as an escort, you let 4 people die in the process while being significantly stronger than anything inside. No sane judge will buy that, and in combination with the poor father coming out, it's prison for the rest of your life. All you had to do was say, "We had to split up, the convicts saw their chance, but I wasn't about that life." Boom! Given how they've barely investigated the death of an S-rank's relative, nobody would bother with these 3 schmucks even if they were on the kill list. Just don't make it public and reprimand him internally. It'd be hard to prove much anyway. Speaking of the S-rank guy and his brother, I like how he instantly decided to kill Jinwoo and who? Fuck man, I struggle so much with Korean names and half of them starting with G doesn't help at all. Regardless, Dong-soo knew that the 2 survivors were responsible and set his glowing eyes on avenging his brother, who was also behaving like a total idiot. I can't accept that he went under the radar with his despicable schemes, yet he did exactly what he warned Jimmy about. "You'll never get away with killing me." Is that right? Because you just found out that this other new teammate of yours is a son of a very big man, meaning that if he won't come back from a dungeon, you can bet all of your asses that a very detailed investigation is coming and there is no way they won't find out about your little game. Moreover, for somebody who was so confident the boss won't go down to these lower ranks, you'll look way too smug even after a supposed weakling took a pyroblast like a champ. I'm sorry, but that was some cartoon villain shit, which would be in line with my comment about the Matrix as it looks fabricated specifically for our main character's growth. It's about damn time we talk about that, because the MC went through one hell of a glow up. He started as your run-of-the-mill underdog with nothing going for him, except for a gorgeous waifu naturally, and I was surprised to see him being treated somewhat decently in comparison to what we usually see when we have the weakest of them all archetype. Nice change of pace, but the pace is exactly where I have the problem. Though he was a hunter and definitely saw his fair share of battles, I find the speed at which he became an edgelord a bit too fast. Look at how he changed in just one episode. He went from a wimpy kid to using cheesy one-liners in a matter of hours. I understand getting some confidence and a backbone, but to become a completely different person with very little traces of his old self is slightly unbelievable. It's actually the exact opposite of the criticism I gave to Rudy, who, no matter the quantity of life lessons, relapsed almost every episode until the Renoa Magic Academy arc. Here, it was like a switch. He became colder, changed his body language, got bigger, but the show didn't do much with it yet, and I think it's a big missed opportunity that was explored really well in another anime. Parasite the Maxim, one of the best titles in my book rivaling Hunter x Hunter, where the protagonist goes through a very similar transformation which significantly affects his relationships with people around him. Example, his girlfriend, who liked him for being a bit nerdy and soft, said straight to his face, "I'm sorry, I've mistaken you for someone else." It's a great plotline that delves into what going through shit does to your close ones, and it's a shame that I haven't seen that with his sister or Ju-hee. To be fair, there was one slightest attempt at that, except that it didn't go anywhere and only made me feel puzzled because he let such a kind 10 out of 10 wipeable girl who they had a history with walk away without even trying to stop her. I know he had a bigger fish to fry, but come on, man. Now we should talk about the plot for a bit, because so far they've only prepped the ingredients, meaning that the cooking should start fairly soon. Jeju Island. Bet you $2.50, I don't have much more, that it will be the focus of the entire show. I don't think it will all happen on the island itself, because we're shown the mutation of the monsters at the very end, so I suppose it will go something like My Hero Aka, where they got out, started terrorizing the world, making the hunters from all over come together to deal with this mess. In the meantime, Jimmy the hero will level up, slime himself some cool new abilities, and will discover what the hell is up with the statue, cause it has to be someone akin to an architect or potentially a previous victim of the system who just got bored. In any case, by completing some Save the World quest, Mr. Sung will be allowed to see the dude and whatever happens, happens. Great, exciting and so on, with the slight exception of me not feeling like Jeju Island was that big of a deal. Let me rephrase. On paper, I totally get what happened, how it affected the people involved, and all the other breadcrumbs we were given. But I wanted to actually see it because the opening sequence and a few flashbacks didn't quite portray the horror, hopelessness, and eventual Hunter's defeat. What other anime covered something similar? I want to say Hunter x Hunter, yet it doesn't quite fit my point. Ah, I'm a single-digit IQ pinhead. Attack on Titan! Dude, that's how you show a catastrophic breach. The emotions, the cinematography, the music, for crying out loud. In just a couple of minutes, I was told everything I need to understand without a shadow of a doubt that this situation is fucking serious. Here, not so much. I just didn't feel the scope of the problem until I was told by the characters themselves. Which leads me to a few words about the cast as a whole. It seems okay, got a wider range of personalities with some obvious archetypes and lots of room for some interesting developments. For instance, I really like the old man for his very authentic veteran of the field vibe, the government A-rank guy for his smarts, and a bunch of other ones who displayed very realistic behaviors. I always look forward to shows depicting this kind of stuff, so seeing a devastated father wanting to avenge his daughter because the system failed her on so many levels gets me right in the feels. It's too early to say anything more about the cast, hence why I'll leave it at that. Lastly, not really an evaluation, but a few observations about the matrix of the story. Obviously, it's designed to make the MC stronger, as he gets conveniently saved and receives astonishingly broken abilities like the Ruler's Hand. For what reason? That's the big question, which may or may not be answered. However, I'm still curious how it works, cause it can be a literal matrix, an augmented reality, or a type of Greed Island situation made by Smiles over here. It's just that I played way too many video games and I immediately start to think of how to exploit it. Like, can you stack armor? You have your interface with certain slots, yet the jacket and pants don't seem to be on it. Can you put on the quote-unquote real armor and then equip something else through the interface? Also, what's visible to people around him? Certainly not the gacha process, but the box might? And don't forget that he's constantly looking at the interface nobody else sees. It's quite noticeable that something has his attention, so why do we not hear a single thought along the lines of, what is he always looking at? Is he thinking? Does he have some ability? You'll only hide it for so long, given how VR is a thing and you're behaving exactly how you would while wearing a headset. Oh well, we might just have to accept it as part of the narrative, similar to his first penalty experience. It's hard to believe that after all he went through, he didn't take this thing more seriously, yet we needed to see what failing a quest looks like to simply know how the system works and so that he can later use it to his advantage. To sum up, solo leveling succeeds where shows like Demon Slayer fail. There seems to be no overcomplicated plot, no infinite sad backstories, nor over-reliance on a specific gimmick. It's simple, to the point, pure entertainment, and though I do prefer a more sophisticated story with various bells and whistles, there is nothing wrong with the straightforward concept executed well. It was I, Mahis, sounding about as good as I feel into the microphone. Have a great, whatever time of the day you have. Until next time, cheers.